morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning.
My name is David Grady. I'm with the State Council on Developmental Disability. And we are here today as part of a project by the Disability Collaborative that meets on a monthly basis with the intention of educating and training families with children who have developmental disabilities on how to work within the adult community. And so today we're going to have a special presentation on within the community how to work and respond to law enforcement. And we're filming today and happy to have the media production crew from Hope Services. So let's say hi to everybody from Hope Services.
Thank you.
We want to thank San Andreas for having us here. So thank you, Mike and Jamie. I'll introduce Ann Seabar first. She's with San Andreas Regional Center. Ann has worked with Regional Center and within the field of developmental disabilities for too many years to count. And currently she's a resource specialist and she's very active for people who live in independent and supported living arrangements. Ann is an expert in community integration and an expert also in making sure that the services that are arranged by Regional Center allow people with developmental disabilities to live as independently as possible. And then our special guest is Captain Ahern from the Sunnyvale Public Safety Department. Captain Ahern has worked at Sunnyvale Police Department his entire career, and he is the captain of special operations, and he listed all the things he's in charge of at Sunnyvale. So if you're in Sunnyvale and things are going well, you can thank Captain Ahern. Most importantly for today, Captain Ahern is a crisis intervention trainer, CIT. And those are very important initials for us in the community when working with police officers, because it's the crisis intervention training that has instructed police officers and other first responders on how to work with people who are going through a crisis. So Captain Ahern has a great background. He trains other police officers in that, so we're very excited to have him answer the questions that Ann will be asking today. All right, so I'm going to leave it to you, Ann, and Captain Ahern, thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
And thank you all for coming as well. Should I call you Captain or Sean?
Call me Sean.
Oh, let's call him Sean. So we're calling him Sean today.
As long as you don't work for me, you don't have to call me. I just look pretty in gold, so that's my ward.
He looks very formal today. Thank you. So let's start with a little conversation about what are the reasons that a police officer might be called to the scene where someone with a developmental or intellectual disability might be involved? What kinds of things would happen?
Okay, first off, if I can, thank you. I am honored and humbled to be here with all of you today. This is extremely important. It's important to me because this is something that's been a passion of mine for a very long time, to make sure that police officers throughout the state, throughout the nation, interact better with those that we deal with in the field. Because as police officers, we unfortunately deal with people at their worst moments. So we need to do better, and this has been my goal for a very long time, so thank you for having me here. I'm glad to be here. I want to tell you at the end though, we're doing one massive selfie because I'm tweeting this out.
I don't blame you.
Be prepared. So, and going back to the question. So, I think I kind of said it there a little bit. You know, people normally don't call the police because they want to see a police officer at their home or at their work or where they're at. People normally call the police because something's wrong. Maybe you that calls the police because something's happened to you that you're not happy about, or it may be a family member who's called the police because something's wrong, or what probably happens maybe a little bit more than it should is, it may be somebody from the public who's calling the police because they're not familiar with you. They're not familiar with what your background is, and they're seeing something that maybe disturbs them or causes them concern, so they call us. And that's our job as police officers. We go out when things aren't good. Now, not to say that sometimes we get to do a lot of good things, because we do, and we have a lot of good situations, But if we're called out, it's usually because something's wrong, and that's why we're there.
And when you arrive at the scene, what are some of the thoughts that go through a police officer's mind as he's arriving on the scene? Let's say someone from the public calls and says, I see somebody who looks different or suspicious. What are the kinds of things you think about as an officer to go out there and enter the scene?
And that's actually a really good question. We're thinking a lot of things. Number one, we're thinking about our safety. We may not have a lot of information about what the problem may be. So our number one concern is going to be our safety. Our number two concern is going to be the safety of the public, and that includes you. Our number three concern is what's going on? What are we actually out here for? What actually has occurred? And we're going to ask a lot of questions. We're going to try to find out what's going on so we get a better understanding, so then we can deal with that situation better. The more information we get, the better we can deal with whatever that situation is and why we're there. And that's what's really important, is that communication that needs to occur. And that's really where we're starting from, is number one concern is going to be the safety.
So Sean, you've gotten to the scene, you're kind of assessing what's going on. What kind of information can the person that you're there to assess and the bystanders, what kind of information can people give you that will help you quickly understand the nature of what's happening out there?
I think the number one question that has to be answered is, why are we there? What's happened? Why did you call the police? What happened? Then from there, we may ask additional questions. What's really important, and we may not ask this question, and this is where I teach officers to be aware of, but I also talk to family members and to caretakers. If we're there and we're dealing with somebody with a developmental disability or dealing with somebody with a mental health issue, we want to know that. Because we do not want to do anything more that may upset that family member or that person. Because some officers may not be able to pick up on a disability or a mental health issue right away. So if that is something we need to know in the very beginning, besides why we're there, please tell us. Let us know that. Let us know what we're dealing with, because officers do receive training in the state of California on how to deal with people with mental health issues and developmental disabilities. So then we can start using those tools that we have so we can better interact with you and help you. That's really the main thing.
So the clear message is then, what I heard you saying was that it's really good for the person who maybe got called on because someone saw them and didn't understand why they were there, to quickly identify to the officers who come to the scene, I'm a person who has a developmental disability. That will help you then change gears and ask questions differently and approach the scene differently. So if you are approached by an officer, let the officer know that you have, because it's not obvious to people. So it might be something you want to let the officer know so they can ask better questions and ask questions in a way that are helpful to you.
And that's really important, because understand, whoever called, if it wasn't you or your family member or caretaker that called us, and it was somebody from the public, they saw something that did not appear right to them, and they've described that to us, and just on the description we have, it may be considered not right behavior, but we don't know why that person is doing it. We don't know the circumstances. So once we're told why we're there, and once we're told that we may be dealing with somebody in a crisis or with a disability, the light bulb is going to go on. We're going to go, oh, okay, that may explain why we got called here. That may explain what that person saw who called us, and now we can handle the situation better.
And you can do it as simple as saying, I'm a San Andreas Regional Center client. You don't have to say, I have a disability. You can say that. We train the officers to know that San Andreas means that you're a person with a developmental disability, and that changes how they approach you. So you can just say that and not have to say, identify yourself as anything other than a San Andreas client.
And kind of piggybacking on that, it's kind of interesting. Somebody who has diabetes, somebody who has allergies to medication, they wear a medical tag. And we're trained as, so just so you know, for the Department of Public Safety, I am trained both as a firefighter, an EMT, and a police officer. So I do all three. So my training for an EMT or as a firefighter is if I have somebody in a medical crisis, I'm trained to look for those medical tags to find out is it a diabetic reaction, is it an allergic reaction, I'm looking for those cards. People with mental health issues and developmental disabilities do not carry around tags with them or cards. We don't. But you are your tag. Your caretaker's your card. You can tell us, here's what's going on or here's the situation. And we don't need every detail. As you said, just say, hey, I belong to San Andreas Regional Center. Okay, we're good. We now know. We now know what we're dealing with. And that, again, that's extremely important.
The takeaways from this training are that police are called to bad situations, and they can't always tell what is going on. The more information they have, the better they can help. Communicate that you have a disability. If you can say, I have a disability, say that. Or say, I'm a client of the San Andreas Regional Center. If you can't say it easily, it might be a good idea to keep a card that explains that with your ID.